Good morning and welcome back to Planet AP. If you're new here, it's crazy out here, but you're gonna love it. I want to talk about something really important today, and that is what your heart needs, okay? Why nothing except one thing can satiate your heart, okay? And to start off, I want to give you an example of a sponge, all right? When you were born, and when you were born, this is sort of an example of what you were like, okay? I hope you can see it. This sponge, I just pulled it out of the pack. It's untouched, except obviously my hands got it dirty. It's whole. It's not at all blemished by anything yet. It's unused. It's whole, right? It's in its pure essence, the way that it arrived, right? And that is how each one of us comes into the world, right? Our hearts are unblemished. Our hearts are whole. Our hearts are booming, radiating. We are living, breathing examples of love, all right? So if you look over here, we are born in a state of wholeness. And even the Prophet, peace be upon him, he said, human beings, every child is born on fitra, which means innate goodness, right? There's no baby in the world that is born unworthy. There's no baby, okay? I'm talking about like a newborn, a baby sponge, right? Unused. There's no newborn, new baby, nothing in the world that comes here evil. All right, they're born in innate goodness, and it's the parents, the society that gives them labels and so on and so forth. And this for me is a topic that has really sat heavy on my heart the past few days. And I truly, I was sitting there and I've had a week of realizations, and I want to be really real with you. I was sitting there and I was thinking, I don't want to create content about manifestation. I don't want to be known as the coach or the YouTube person who teaches people how to manifest whatever they want, how to quantum leap in a new reality, whatever. I think those things are side effects. I truly know and believe that those things, whatever happens on the outside is a byproduct of who we are on the inside. And I think that while I started and I've created a lot of content on manifestation and all of that, I just don't think that that's my message to the world anymore. I think my message, and it's been sort of, foreshadowed in a lot of my videos, but it would always come out as like, oh, manifest this, whatever. But I truly believe that the world is suffering so much, and I no longer want to be loyal to that timeline and that message. I think there's a lot of people in the world who are teaching that, who are sharing about that, who are telling you everything about that. But I like this, if this doesn't resonate with you, what I share in this video, you free to unsubscribe. But I believe that my message to this world is so much bigger than that, and it's of God, and it's of wholeness, and it's of heart, and a spiritual resurrection of the heart. Because it seems to it's how we say reality is a mirror. I'm trying not to cry because I feel so deeply about this, but reality is a mirror, right? And I through the timeline death challenge, through some people that I really love in my own life, and just through the world, I've been witnessing people under so much pain, and it has physically been hurting my heart, that they're hurting not because they want something that's out there. They're hurting because they want to return to this, but they're looking for, they're lost. They're lost. That's it, period. And I just think that the world is so full of lies, and it can really delude a person into thinking that if you just get that thing, that person, maybe go to that place or whatever, that's literally the entire premise of marketing is what, right? I was talking to one of my friends who went to business school, and she's like, bro, we learn about this in the psychology of marketing. We learn how to get people to get addicted to something they don't need, right? We learn about how we create the illusions of problems just to sell things, and people their hearts are hurting. They will do anything, and the greatest fallacy, what really made me feel enraged, is that, and more than enraged, I think just hurt, But it was, to be honest, it was both of those things. And it was that, in the midst of all of this, the personal development industry, right? I was so heavy with it for 3 years of my life. I became a trainer. I was doing this, I was doing that. And I thought that, oh, like this is liberating me, right? All this mindset work and all these belief system work and all of this and all of that. But it was imprisoning me. And I was a prisoner to my own mind, to my own, this part of me that said, Anna, you're not worthy until you achieve enough, until you get this, until you get that. I used all of these tools as a way to get those things, and I got the damn things, but then it broke me still, because I had everyone in the world clapping for me. From my friends, everyone was like, oh, like, look at Anna, like what a comeback story, right? Let me show you. I wrote this book at 23, exactly a year after I got a divorce. And this book was the comeback story of Anna P, right? Oh, that girl, it starts with like, I was 13, my sister died, and this happened and that happened. And it was all about how I said, like I overcame my challenges. And honestly, I'm so inspired by this girl. But the truth is that this girl, she thought that writing the book would change her life. She thought that if enough people clapped for her, if she had achieved enough, if she had enough businesses, if she just did enough, right? Her heart would feel whole. And it didn't. And so she kept chasing achievement after achievement after achievement. She got a team of big people, and she started another business, and she was a marketing director here, and she was this here, and she was that here. And she was hurting, because the one thing she really was looking for through all of that was God. And we have become a godless world. And the truth is, if I'm keeping it a buck with you, it wasn't that I didn't believe in God. I did. I really did. I grew up a Muslim, right? My parents, they pray, and I've seen God's name all around. But I knew the law of God, but I didn't know the light of God. My perception of God was completely distorted. I thought God was this mean bully. I thought God was just up, like a man upstairs looking down on everyone, ready to catch you if you sin. Everything that made me feel like I was a sinner. I felt unworthy of God. I didn't think that I deserved to pray. When everyone in your life tells you, oh, you should be doing this and you should be doing that, and like, I pray and it gives me so much peace, and then you stand on that prayer mat and you feel no peace. When you go to the mosque, you find people, like some people, they're feeling so spiritually connected, but you're in the house of God and you're just like, man, I feel nothing. That breaks your heart. That breaks your spirit. And that was me in 2023. It was end of 2023, and I was there. For those of you who are Muslims, I was doing an umrah, and we went to the Kaaba, house of God, for the first time, and I was looking, and I felt nothing, and I felt so terrible, because I was like everyone here feels God, but what happened to my heart? What happened? And somehow, in some ways, I found my own way to talk to God. And I found that, whatever way of connecting to Him. And then when I came back from there, within the next few months, like, God made me walk away from everything I'd built for 3 years. And if you're a hyperachiever, right? If you're someone that really values your success, right? Your achievements, this video is especially for you. And it's coming from someone who was a hyperachiever herself. And it wasn't that I didn't want to talk to God. It wasn't that I didn't want God's presence in my life. It was just that I thought that when I was a baby, I was taught love means control. And love contracts, it does not expand. And it judges and it criticizes. And I never knew Because I've never heard anyone who talks about God say that, maybe people do, but I hadn't heard that, say that your childhood trauma affects your relationship with God. And so we think that we're broken. I carried the guilt of feeling like I was such a big sinner. I was this, I was that, I was, stamped for hell. But it was never about me or God. It was about what was within my own shadows. And I guess this video is it's for my heart and yours. And it's also to let you know that I don't think I want to be talking about manifestation anymore. But I want to talk about the only elixir, the only potion for the heart. The spiritual heart, reviving it, breathing it back to life. Because I promise you that when this comes back online, everything else rearranges itself. Everything starts working out. Every single thing. But you can get the tools to manifest. And you can even manifest things. But if this is offline, no amount of things you manifest will ever satiate you. You will always feel starved because the heart has one God. The heart is the throne of God. And this isn't about religion and labels. This is about our state of wholeness when we are connected to God. The way that we came into the world. But life happened. And our hearts became tainted and distorted and discolored even. And they became heavy. And if I dunk this sponge into water right now, it will feel so much heavier, right? Because that water is the weight of the world that drowns us, that makes us feel suffocated, that makes us feel like nothing is enough. And so the journey in life is not about how you can hack reality. It's about doing a spiritual heart surgery. It's about unlearning all that you never were. And it's about really building a life where there is no separation between God and world, right? I grew up hearing the phrase deen and dunya, right? Which are Arabic words, and that means religion, God, and then the worldly life. Spiritual life and worldly life, they're separate, they're not. This is the code that makes this earth life flow effortlessly. Because the highest state of, the heart itself, right? It is such a powerful organ in its physical essence, in its energetic essence, in its spiritual essence. The electromagnetic rays that the heart radiates. There's so many studies on it. Heart Math Institute, right? The power of the heart, the this of the heart, that of the heart. So then why do we pay so little attention to the heart? We think, the problem is I get attached to the manifestation. Anna, how do I detach from the outcome? Anna, how do I surrender? Anna, which method do I do? And for a moment, I did get full disclosure, I got a little knocked unconscious, or not even unconscious, but I think I got a little derailed from the message. And so something the past 3-4 days, I think, the way that my heart broke open, I can't, it's between me and God, but all I can say is that this is the message, this is the mission, this is the legacy, this is all I ever want to do, is to help you, every single one of you, to revive the heart again, so you can feel God again. Because nothing else can satiate the heart. I promise you, nothing else in the world. Nothing. You don't need anything else. Everything is a lie. And that's not to say that, we don't like things, or we're not going to get the things, or money, or whatever. I promise you, when the heart is one with God, when you move with God, you don't manifest, you just receive. When God is your ride or die, when God is your best friend, when God is the one you have such an intimate relationship with, that purifies your field. What do we say is to receive anything? We talk about abundance so much, right? The state of abundance. What is the state of abundance? We talk about gratitude. When you live a God-conscious life, those are the baseline states for you, for your heart. So of course everything just flows in. You are in such deep surrender. You know exactly what your purpose is. You can hear the heart, you can hear the inspiration, and you move with integrity and grace. Nothing makes you flinch, by the way, because you know who you move with. But it's hard. It's hard to feel like nothing makes me flinch. It's hard to detach from the 3D when everything is devoid of God, especially your heart. When the heart does not know God, when the heart is empty, right? When it's spiritually not connected, what happens? It will latch onto things, latch onto people, latch onto success, latch onto worthiness, latch onto appreciation, latch onto, this, that, the other, khalas, like all of those things. And we say, oh, but I get so attached. But that's not the problem, babe. That it's a side effect. There's a difference. You are not broken. Something that shouldn't have happened when you were a kid did. And now it plays out in your whole life. And if you're not in my email list, I shared this with them yesterday. I'm writing a book called The Law Without the Light, which is everything that I know my message is about now. Because people don't deserve to suffer like that. The amount of pain I was under for years and years just looking for an answer, looking for one more coaching program, one more thing, one more this, one more that, thinking like that should fix me, that should heal me. But my heart needed God, spiritual resurrection. Because without that, nothing matters, I promise you. Nothing matters. It's like you're living life in black and white, truly. When you start to live with God, it's like life 10x's your, like 100x's, like your the colors that you see. The heart is so open. And then from that place, you see people who are suffering. You see that, like when you see people who are bitter and mean and unkind or whatever, you know that their heart is just offline. People do so much to feel whole again. But what if the answer wasn't doing? What if it wasn't in any type of thing you achieved outside or any battle within yourself you overcame outside? What if it was just to go inward, right? And so, yeah. So I want to talk about, I think I really did capture what your heart needs here, because look, and I'll put this into a little bit more perspective here. When you were born in a state of wholeness, right? And then, especially between 0 to 7 years old, you were taking impressions from everyone else. They were basically telling you, the world showed you which parts were acceptable. The world showed you which parts of you were acceptable, which parts of you can you allow to come out, which truth can you share, which side of you can you show up with, and what you don't need to do. So then we see they're adults, they're different types of them, right? Some are controlling and dominant, and some are timid and scared. People who look so overly, on the external, they look so put together and confident, but internally they're so afraid of rejection. They're so afraid that if I say the truth, if I say my truth, then people will reject me and then I will be left alone. But really, in the people, in the world, in the every single thing outside them, right? In the 3D, the people who give you love, right? The bags that make you smile, right? The money that gives you a sense of, abundance. All of that, no matter how much you have it, it has one thing in common, is that it's never enough. It is never enough. Because the first time I gave a workshop in public, I told myself there were, I think, God, I don't remember, but I think there were 30, 40 people in the room. And I told myself, oh, when they're like 100, 200 people, then that's it, right? I had those people. And then I was like, no, what if 1,000 people, right? And I was on a stage of 1,000 people. And then I said, but what if it wasn't even what if it was in another country? I gave a keynote and I was flown there. Yeah, that's it, right? And I had that. But guess what happened? There was always what? There was always something missing. You buy a new perfume, you buy a new bag, something happens in your life. You get new jewelry, right? For a moment, maybe 2 moments, maybe 3 moments, you're like, every time you look at it, you're like, wow, yeah. But then what happens? You move on to the next thing. I was in a meeting with someone, and the guy, he said, that's like, we were talking about exactly this, and he said, that's so true, because when I bought my first car, I was like, oh my god, blah blah. And then he's like, and then it was just a car. And he's like, and when I bought my first, I don't know, some bougie ass car, he's like, it felt like it was gonna be such a big deal, right? But it wasn't, because it was just a car. What am I trying to say here? When the heart is empty, it needs something outside, a shiny thing outside, to attach to. It needs something outside to attach to. But what is it really looking for? It's really looking for this. See, when we came into the world, this is not our first life, right? Meaning that as souls, we have existed long before we came down to live a human life, right? And so your soul, we were in the realm, as souls, we were in the realm of the unseen, right? And so in that realm, there is no separation. In that realm, there is wholeness. There's no, all is included, okay? And there's wholeness, there's no space, there's no time. But this world, the earth life, 3D, what is it, right? Even God says, like, it's nothing but delusion and play, right? It's we created this place to test you, right? And then God says, even in the Quran, there's this verse, and I love this verse, and I think it's applicable to all of us, right? But he says, we created man from a droplet of sperm, or like a drop of clay, to test him, and we made him hear and see. All right, think about this. God says you were created as a human, and you were created as a human being. You were created, not your soul, as a human. You were created to be tested. My whole life, I thought that, like, the test of life is how much you sin and how much you don't, and how externally religious you are, blah blah blah. The test of life is actually God Himself tells us. So we made him hear, and we made him see. The test of life is your perception. And then when you read even the Bible or the Quran, or when you read the religious scriptures, what do you notice? It is filled with stories of people of blind faith, conviction, right? And you can't have blind faith if the heart is not attached to its Lord. And let me also tell you something really interesting, okay? Because when the heart is connected to source, which is God, right? When the heart is satiated, nothing in the 3D world trips you up, nothing phases you, and nothing feels necessary and urgent. You do not fall complacent to random trends in the world. You're no longer in competition with anyone. You're no longer jealous of people. You literally do not care. You could care less. You become about you and your life and whatever, mission you have here, whatever purpose you're here to walk. Your joy is given, right? I was talking to someone earlier this morning, and that person said to me, he was like, you're all positive and all of that, and there must be another side to it, right? And I was like, you mean depth and darkness? And he's like, yeah, like negativity, right? I was like, damn, like I ain't heard that word, like in a minute. Because there's a difference between having negativity and having the capacity to feel your depth and darkness. I feel like our capacity to feel our depth and our darkness means that we can notice, it's our capacity to notice what fragmented us, okay, from this wholeness, feel that pain to liberate it, right? That is the only journey you need in life. I promise you, like, everything else comes to you. It just flows to you. Things just happen to you. You don't go through life anymore. Life flows through you. That is the purpose. That is what we are all here for. And when you do this, right? When you address the actual disease, okay? Which is a closed heart, and you connect it to source, to God, you feel this wholeness, right? And when you are constantly in a state of wholeness, what are you not doing? You're not seeking, you're not chasing, you're detached, you're surrendered. Isn't that what we talk about in manifestation? To manifest anything, what do you need to do? Live as it. What does it mean? It means you're in a state of wholeness. Do you see? Manifestation is a byproduct of the way you live, the way your heart feels 24/7. Because when you're in wholeness, you do not need anything from the outside to make you feel some type of way. And so all we need to do in life is what? It's peel back the layers of that closed the heart, that placed it in survival, and to revive it, and to redefine God for ourselves. Not the God of laws and punishment and this and that. The essence, the light, the love. To find the truth in a world of lies. To meet the God with the light. That's it. That's what satiates the heart. Nothing else. I promise you. And I feel so deeply about this because it hurts to see people suffer. Because I see myself in every single person that I witness who's hurting, who's looking for answers. And there's someone in my life, I dearly love this person, and I can see that they're experiencing everything I was experiencing for 3 years. They're in that, and I'm just like, if I could just, if I could pull that pain out of you, I would. I can't do that, but I can sit with you and be present with you and reflect the light and truth to you. And that conversation made me realize that I don't want my life to be about anything else. I don't want to be known for anything else but the person just a girl who reminded you of a truth your soul has always known, of the God with the light. That's it. That is all. And it's like, the divine foreshadowing is crazy because I have this portal, this program experience starting next month. It's called the God Coded Business, right? And that is the first time that even got that I even launched something that had literally God in the name of it, right? I mean, my other products were Audacity this and what was it, Timeline Death Challenge. And even though, what's crazy is if you've watched the Timeline Death Challenge, it's so about the spiritual heart. When I launched it, it was not I did not think that it was going to be everything it became. And that's what I even shared with with our container on the last day. I said, it's crazy because I learned surrender through doing this with you, because every day the message was just pouring out of my heart. No scripts, nothing, just presence, love, and an activation that was not scripted or nothing. It was just something that my heart poured out in that moment, right? And I'm just now I'm looking back and I'm people probably know, people probably perceive me a little bit like this already, and I get a lot of messages that affirm that, right? But on a personal level, how we see ourselves, right? I don't think that I had fully embodied that part, that essence, that mission, maybe unconsciously, but not consciously yet. And so when I became consciously aware, it was heavy in the most beautiful type of ways, and it broke my heart in ways that I'm grateful to have been broken into, because the truth is so in front, the truth is so loud, and the message is so clear. And this is not about me. It's about everything we were taught that disconnected us from the life that we have it's always supposed to be. It was always supposed to be this easy, right? It always was. The God Coded Business is about literally God has rejected capitalism, the idea of capitalism. God was never with it, for it. And I think I'll probably I'm planning to do a podcast with my little brother. He's as passionate as I am. You guys will love him so much. But it's about the distortion of the narratives and how society rebranded God to, like, so that people could be taken benefit of. We could be praised, and that whole thing, like the rich get rich, the poor get poor, that whole war, right? It is so much deeper than just that. It is also a war on God. Because when we're cut off from the source of wholeness, what happens? We suffer. We can't change the world if we can barely get by in our own lives. We can't live larger than life missions and legacies. We can't speak the truth. We can't scream it from the top of our lungs because we don't have the energy. We don't have the energy to even get out of bed. People are depressed all over the world. People are suffering from all over the world. And they had to really distort God and religion and all of those things. Bro, the laws anchor the light. They do, but without the light, the laws are heartless rituals. And when they are preached with rigidity, with unkindness, from hard-hearted people reject the laws. And now you don't have the light, you don't have the law. What happens? The heart is empty. The heart is chasing. The heart is hurting, thinking another thing out there, another mansion, another this. Nothing can satiate you but God. And that's that's just my mission in the world. That's what the Bali retreat is for, which I didn't even know when I was, consciously when I was launching it. It's what God Coded Business is about. I mean, it was right there in the name. I am stupid. Not that, but I think I just had to go through my own journey. But it's so much more clear, and it's like I know that when we build this way, we're not just building businesses. We're literally building legacies. We talk about how, world peace this, world peace that, but world peace begins when the inner wars end. Our inner wars are so loud. How can we be about world peace if there's no peace over here? If there's restlessness over here? So this is like, just, if you're someone who is tired of hustling, is tired of doing things the whatever different type of way, and if you have the means, we would love to have you inside God Coded Business. You get when you get inside, you get my 14-day timeline death challenge for free, which is a nervous system reset, a God perception reset. When you go on, just check out the landing page and you'll see everything it's about. You'll see the people what their experiences have been. If you can't afford to invest in timeline death challenge, okay, and hand to God really cannot pay for it, I'm not checking, God knows your intention, but if you can't, email me on annaplanet@gmail.com. I will gift it to you for free, because this is a liberation that I believe everyone should have. And if you can get into God Coded Business, we'd love to have you there. If you can come to Bali, we'd love to see you there, because this is where we build a new community. We come together to, leave the fingerprints and legacies of love in our lives and the lives of all those that we meet. Okay, so thank you. Thank you for watching, and I love you so much. If you guys have any questions, anything at all, drop in the comments below. I am very excited, and I feel very ready for everything that is, now everything that I am guided to now share with the world. And yeah, I don't know, there's a lot I don't know yet, but I do know this is it, right? So I love you so much, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.